ये भी दे देना मेरे को. So good morning. Why there is so much? How many students are there now? In your batch, 125 ना? Who is CR? CR कौन है? CR कौन है? अच्छा CR कोई नहीं है तो दूसरा कौन है? एक राजा जाने के बाद दूसरा राजा कौन बनेगा? कोई तो होगा ना दूसरा CR? No? So CR is not always there. He was not there last time also. So last time we have covered. What we have covered last time? I think we have started with late changes after death, and in that we have covered putrefaction or decomposition, right? So yes, so you know by this time what are the different features of putrefaction. So features will be in the form of changes in color of the tissue. Which color tissue will take when it is decomposed or when it is decomposing? Greenish, right? So greenish tinge it will take. Then formation of foul smelling gases in the tissues, then appearance of insects, that is maggots, and then tissue will get liquefied. So these are the features of decomposition. In color changes, we have seen how they took place. From where they start? Superficially. Color changes of decomposition, first color change will be seen at which site? Right iliac fossa. Right iliac fossa, right? So here first change of decomposition will be seen in the form of greenish discoloration. Then we have seen marbling. What is marbling? What is marbling? What is marbling? The greenish pattern, branching pattern which will appear on the surface of the body. So these will coincide with the underlying veins from which hemoglobin will be diffused, and it will be converted into self-mixed hemoglobin, because this will react with which gas? Which gas? H2S. Yes. So it will be seen in 36 to 48 hours. Marbling we have seen. Then formation of foul smelling gases. Which gases are released in decomposition? Which common gases are released? CO2. उसके बाद SO2. उसके बाद methane, mercaptan. So all these gases are released during decomposition. So we have seen this. Then gas formation in the blood vessels. This will lead to slippage or separation of epidermis from dermis, and wounds will also appear as if they are bleeding. This is again due to formation of gases. I have shown the photographs, right? There can be, due to these gases, prolapse of rectum or uterus. If lady is pregnant, then postmortem delivery is also possible. Hair losing and hair will be pluckable, right? They can be removed easily. Then teeth also can be removed easily. Nails also can be removed easily. So you can remember hairs, then nails, then teeth. So they will become loose and easily pluckable by, say, hair by 3 days, right? Nails by 5 days and teeth by 7 days. This is approximately, right? So plus and minus can be there. Then appearance of maggots will be there. We have seen this common flies, house fly, green bottle fly, then blue bottle fly, all will be attracted towards body. They will lay egg then formation of larva, right? Then larva will change into pupa, and pupa will change into adult fly. So this cycle will take around 10 to 12 days, and the flies will lay eggs on the damp surfaces of the body, the folds, the injuries, right? So where there is some warmth is there, so there they will lay their eggs after how many days? After that, say 24 to 48 hours, 24 to 36 hours, and after that they will continue their cycle, which will be around 10 to 12 days. So from that you can determine the time since death. So what is this called? Study of these different insects in relation to death. What is this called? Forensic entomology. Forensic entomology. So we are taking your test, your continuous class test. I think you are having exam in pathomicro and pharmac. Okay? So it will be over by the end of this month. Next month. है ना? So can we take before that or after that? After that. So we will take after that, say in the last week of April or in the first week of May. First week of May. You are there, na? First week of May. Okay. So first week of May we will take your test in the form of, say, one line answer or fill in the blank or MCQ from the topics which are covered up till now. Up till now means since 1 year. 1 year मतलब अभी तो 8 महीने हुए जो भी है, right? So we will be taking those topics. 25 questions I am planning and 1 mark each. ठीक है? So like that we will take your test. So that will be the part of your internal assessment. The marks will be added in your internal assessment, right? Okay. So after this maggots, which is called as forensic entomology, then how the decomposition of internal organ occurs. So this is again color changes are seen in the internal organs. So they will initially turn brownish, then blackish at last, right? And sometimes the organs after that will not be identifiable at all. In the liver, it will decompose, say in the form of, there will be appearance of blisters in the substance of parenchyma of liver, and this is due to decomposition, gases of decomposition, and this will lead to foamy appearance or to the honeycomb appearance to the liver. So this is typical of decomposition. Then in 3 to 5 days, all the viscera, ultimately it will liquefy, right? So all the viscera will become soft and greasy by 3 to 5 days. Brain will also become liquid, so it will liquefy in about 3 days. So when you open skull, brain tissue will actually flow out of the cranial cavity when you open the skull. So this will occur in around 3 to 5 days. So this is again a form of decomposition. Then this is important, viscera with low density and high water content will decompose earlier, and the viscera with high density and low water content will decompose later. Okay? So depending on this, the viscera which will decompose earlier is this larynx, trachea, then stomach, intestine, spleen, liver, brain. So these are having high water content and low density, so they will decompose faster. Then viscera which will decompose later, that is the viscera having low water content and high density. So these are pancreas, diaphragm, heart, kidney, muscles, blood tissues, blood vessels. So all this will decompose later. And this is important, I think I have also told you last time. So the virgin uterus in females and prostate in males These are the last organ to putrefy. ठीक है. Then factors, क्या हुआ देखो, which are influencing the rate of decomposition. So this is again a GK question. GK question means you can easily, if you think, you can easily answer. So temperature is important factor. So at a particular temperature, decomposition will be optimum. So that decomposition will be maximum. So that particular temperature is 21 to 38 degrees centigrade, and there will not be any decomposition. So it will be actually arrested below 0 degree centigrade and above 50 degree centigrade, right? Then there will be rate of decomposition will be 2 times in summer as compared to in winter. Then moisture is also another factor which is affecting decomposition, rate of decomposition. So the bodies which are recovered from water will decompose faster, more rapidly they will decompose. Air is again a factor. So air will hasten, it will increase the rate of decomposition. Why? Because it will convey lot of microorganisms to the body, and that's why decomposition rate will increase. Clothes, again they say diet, if there are tight clothes on the body, so it will slow down the process of decomposition. Then manner of burial. Manner of burial, in this they say decomposition is slow if the body is deeply buried and if it is in airtight coffin. So here decomposition will be so slow, and body decomposes in air 2 times as rapidly as in water, and this will be 8 times as rapidly as in earth. So this is called as Casper dictum. So as per Casper dictum, the body in air will decompose faster than in water, and the slowest to decompose will be when the body is in earth. So air is to water is to earth, you can say 1:2:8. So this is called as Casper dictum. Understood this Casper dictum? If body decomposes in air in 1 hour, right, it will decompose in water in how many hours? 2 hours. And it will decompose in earth in how many hours? 8 hours. So this is the meaning of this, that is Casper dictum. Then external factors which are affecting decomposition are age. So they say bodies of newborn who are not being fed will decompose very slowly, and bodies of newborns which are fed will decompose faster. Again this is due to see they are exposed to external organisms, right? Then bodies of children will putrefy rapidly, and old persons will decompose slowly. Again this will depend on water content and tissue density. In the sex there is no effect on rate of decomposition. Both bodies, male and female, will decompose at the same rate. Then condition of body. The fatty bodies and flabby bodies will putrefy faster, will decompose faster, and thin bodies and weak bodies will decompose slower, as there is again less fluid content. Then internal injuries, if they are there, it will fasten or hasten the decomposition. Then cause of death will again the important factor affecting decomposition. If the death is chronic wasting disease, heavy metal poisoning, and carbolic acid, datura, strychnine, all these cases it will be slower, decomposition will be slower in heavy metal poisoning, carbolic acid poisoning, datura, strychnine poisoning, right, chronic wasting disease, and it will be faster in cases of death due to asphyxia or death due to bacterial infection, septicemia. So these are different external factors affecting rate of decomposition. Then medical aspect of decomposition, number one, it is surest sign of death. so it will not occur ante-mortem. Before death, decomposition will not occur. Then time since death can be determined, and if the decomposition is in advanced stages, if there is advanced decomposition, identification it will be a really problem to identify the body and also to give the cause of death. So you will not be able to give the cause of death or identify the body if it is highly decomposed. Okay, so this is one of the late changes after death, that is putrefaction or decomposition. There are other changes, late changes after death. These are called as, these are also late decomposition changes, but these are somewhat modified depending on the environmental factors, right? So this is, you are aware of these competencies, है ना? Competencies तुमको पता होगा तुम्हारे curriculum में जो है. So this is FM 2.9 so and FM 2.10. So these are last competencies which I will cover, and today I will finish this long going chapter of changes after death, right? So 2.9 is putrefaction is over, mummification, adipose formation will cover, right? And estimation of time since death will cover, ठीक है? So this will cover, and this you already know, है ना? Knows how. Then it will be in the form of lecture, small group discussion. What is DOAP? DOAP क्या है? तुमने कॉम्पिटेंस है ना तुमको? व्हाट इज DOAP? पढ़ते नहीं हो तुम कॉम्पिटेंसी भी? हाँ, वेरी गुड. डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन, ऑब्जर्वेशन, असिस्टेंस, परफॉर्मेंस. सो इट विल बी अगेन कवर्ड इन योर प्रैक्टिकल ऑल्सो, राइट? Okay, so adipose formation, it is also called as saponification. This is a form of modified form of decomposition. So here adipose means fat, and sire means wax. So fatty tissues in the body are converted to waxy substance which is known as adipose. Right. So this is a modified form of decomposition. Then what is the mechanism of this adipose formation? They say it occur due to hydrolysis and hydrogenation of body fats like oleic acid into higher fatty acids. So higher fatty acids are palmitic acid and stearic acid. So mainly it is palmitic acid, right? So this process needs water, that is hydrogenation and hydrolysis of fat needs, so that they are converted into higher fatty acids. This process needs water, right? So this is, they will get from the body fluids and from the soft tissues, right? Then this higher fatty acids will combine with the calcium and ammonium ions, and this will form soap, right? Soap will be formed. So this soap is alkaline, it will inhibit the putrefactive bacteria. So thus the body will be preserved naturally. So when this particular adipose is formed, body is naturally preserved. How the bodies are preserved artificially? एनाटॉमी पता है तुमको? हाँ? फॉर्मेलिन, यस, फॉर्मेलिन, फ्रीजिंग. फॉर्मेलिन में क्या करते हैं? क्या करते बॉडी को? एम्बाल्मिंग, राइट? एम्बाल्मिंग, फ्रीजिंग. सो ऑल दीज आर अगेन वेयर द बॉडीज आर प्रिजर्व्ड आर्टिफिशियली. So this is how the body will look when adipose will be formed, right? At the time of death, body contains around, they say, 0.5% of fatty acids, right? So these will go on increasing because of hydrogenesis and hydrolysis of fat. As the adipose is formed, this will go on increasing. So at the time of death, body will contain around 0.5% of fatty acids. In the adipose formation, this will increase to 20%. 20% fatty acids after 1 month and 70% after 3 months. So in this way, the fatty acids will be, higher fatty acids will be formed. Then what are the features of adipose? Adipose ki features kya hai? It is this particular thing which is formed on the body, which is called as adipose, which is wax like substance. So this has sweetish offensive odor. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा मीठा और offensive odor इसका होता है. It is soft, somewhat soft, or you can say little bit firm, whitish in color, moist and translucent. It is inflammable, and if you burn it, it will give yellow colored flame. It will float in water, dissolves in alcohol. It is brittle and can be cut easily, right? And once this is formed, the facial features will be preserved. Facial features will be preserved, and if there are any injuries on the body, they will also be preserved, right? So that's why if adipose is formed, identification will be possible, and giving cause of death will also be possible, because if there are injuries on the vital parts, you may be able to correlate and give the cause of death. Then there are certain environmental factors which are essential for adipose formation. What are these factors? Absence of air, presence of excess moisture and little bit of warmth. तो क्या क्या चीज़ें चाहिए एडिपोज फॉर्म होने को? एक तो चाहिए आपका सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट मॉइस्चर, वाटर, राइट? देन एब्सेंस ऑफ एयर एंड लिटिल बिट ऑफ वार्मथ. तो ये सब चीज़ें अगर एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशन से मिल गई एंड इफ बॉडी इज देयर, सो इट विल लीड टू और एडिपोजर विल बी formed. So these are favorable conditions for adipose formation, favorable environmental conditions, right? So you can, if adipose is formed on the body, you can say कि environmental condition किस तरह की होनी चाहिए थी या होगी from where the body is recovered. So in this way you are able to identify the environmental conditions at the time of death. Not at the time of death, where the body was lying. Right. Then distribution of this adipose. So they say it forms at the site where there is fatty tissue, right? Where there is fatty tissue like the face, buttock, breast, abdomen. So in this area, this adipose will be formed. Also at the limbs, chest, and entire body may be converted into adipose. Here the epidermis will be lost and dermis will be somewhat dark in color, right? And gross features of internal organs will be identifiable. So you will be able to identify this is liver, this is kidney, right? I already told you in the process of hydrogenation and hydrolysis there is requirement of water, right? So this fluid in the adipose formation, which is used in adipose formation, so there will be, as there will be dryness, the chances of invasion of microbes will be less. Although some bacteria, that is Clostridium perfringens, you know the name, है ना? Clostridium perfringens will help in this process of hydrogenesis, hydrolysis, right? Hydrolysis and hydrogenation process. So, have you understood? This is somewhat contrast. Although this adipose formation will not lead to bacterial invasion, but some bacteria will actually help in this process for absorbing water. So those are Clostridium perfringens. Then time required for adipose formation. So they say it will not be formed in a fetus less than 7 months. ठीक है, 7 मंथ के अंदर अगर fetus है तो adipose form नहीं होगा. This is again related with fat, because subcutaneous fat will be formed at this particular age or beyond this age. Therefore, adipose will not be formed in a fetus which is less than 7 months. Then it will start forming after 3 to 4 days. It will be formed by around 1 month. So, in 3 weeks to 1 month it will be formed, and this adipose which is formed, it will persist. It will persist for decades because body will be preserved. So, it will persist for decades, and finally it can be removed by the mechanical forces, by animals, right, or it can degenerate. So, this is the fate of adipose. Okay? Once it is removed, then body will decompose fast if the environmental condition changes. Then these are the factors which will affect adipose formation. Naturally, environmental factor, where warmth and dampness, moisture is essential. Then bacterial infection, they say early activity by anaerobes will facilitate actually hydrolysis. So, bacteria I have told you, that is Clostridium perfringens. If it is obese person, lot of fat is there, it will decompose, it will the adipose formation will be faster. Then less than 7 months it will not be formed. Air currents, running water, these will retard, they will inhibit the adipose formation. So, these are important factors in adipose formation. Medico-legal aspect of adipose, it is a sign of death. Okay? So, adipose will not be formed in before death. So, it is a sign of death. Identity will be preserved. Identification is possible. Why it is possible? Identification क्यों possible है adipose में? Features will be preserved, na? Facial features will be preserved, and also injuries will be preserved, right? So, you may be able to give cause of death also. So, identity is possible, identification is possible, cause of death you can give. If there are injuries which are well preserved, time since death, if there is formation of adipose, you can say time since death is within 3 weeks to 3 months. 1 month में तो फॉर्म हो जाता है, तो you can take this range, और 4-5 दिन के बाद फॉर्म होना शुरू होता है. So 3 weeks to 3 months is the maximum time which is required for adipose formation. And you can also give some, or it will also give you some idea about the place from where the body was lying. ठीक है? So this place must be a desert or a damp place which is having somewhat warm, somewhat humidity, and there will be presence of moisture. So इस तरह की जगह होगी. डेजर्ट मतलब एकदम डेजर्ट नहीं, जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा वार्मथ हो, है ना, थोड़ा सा गर्मी भी हो और पानी भी हो और एयर फ्लो कम हो. So all these environmental conditions will favor the formation of adipose. Then another form of modified form of decomposition is mummification. So here the environmental conditions will be somewhat different. Okay? So what is mummification? Mummification is desiccation and drying of the body or dehydration of the body after death. So this is a modified form of decomposition, and here also the tissues, preservation of the facial features are also there, preservation of tissues are also there, right? And here the body is odorless. वहाँ पे body का odor कैसे था? एडिपोजर में, हाँ, कैसे था ऑर्डर? ऑर्डर कैसे था एडिपोजर फॉर्मेशन में? समवॉट स्वीटिश, है ना, और ऑफेंसिव. यहाँ पे कंप्लीटली ड्राई होने की वजह से बॉडी विल बी odorless. Then there are certain environmental factors which will favor the mummification. So these are absence of moisture. So this is exactly opposite to what are required for adipose formation. So absence of moisture, free flow air is required. वहाँ पे free flow air नहीं चाहिए था. That will retard adipose formation. Here free flowing air is required, and warmth means little bit higher temperature, which is there in deserts. So around 50 degrees centigrade is required for mummification. Then distribution of mummification, it will involve skin and exposed part of the body. All the muscles will be dark, leathery, right? And they will appear as if they are adherent tightly to the underlying bones, right? And internal viscera will be also dry, very dry and dark in color. So it will be, internal viscera will be dry and dark in color. So this is how the mummified body will look like. Then what are the features of mummified body? It will be thin, shriveled and dry and black in color, right? So all the internal organs will be shrunken, they will be dark in color, and it is possible all the organs will fuse with each other to form a single mass. Kidneys, liver, pancreas, stomach, so all these organs can fuse and form a single mass. Then face, although facial features are preserved, the face will be somewhat distorted due to shrinkage, right? Due to shrinkage, face is somewhat distorted, although the features are preserved. Therefore, identification is also possible if the body is mummified. Then body don't have any odor, so it will be odorless or may have some typical odor which they describe as rotten cheese. So odor of rotten cheese. Time required for mummification, they say around 1 year. So 3 months to 1 year is the range. Medico legal aspect same as adipose formation. Same मतलब कौन से है medico legal aspect? It is a sign of death, number 1. Number 2, cause of death you can identify because again the injuries will be reserved. Identification is possible, right? Time since death you can give, है ना? यहाँ पे 3 months to 1 year. So time since death you can give if the body is mummified. Then you can also identify environmental conditions where the body was lying. So all these medico legal importance, points of medico legal importance are alike with the adipose formation. Then you already know this condition, preserving cadaver for dissection. So how it is preserved? By embalming. And also if the body is required to get transported for long distances, then also it is preserved by embalming, right? Freezing. Then these are the natural processes which will preserve the body, mummification and adipose formation. So this is the mummified body. Although the face is somewhat distorted, the features are identifiable. Okay, so this is all about late changes after death, that is putrefaction, adipose formation and mummification, right? Now we will come to important question that is called as time since death or post-mortem interval. ठीक है? So already what is covered, so from that by observing changes after death you will be able to give the time since death or post-mortem interval. ठीक है? So this is not exactly, you will give a range. ठीक है? So it is always essential to establish time since death to know the approximate time of death. ठीक है? तो एक्चुअली कब डेथ हुई, दिस इज important medically to know. Therefore time since death is always calculated. So the approximate idea you can get from the following signs. है ना. You have already seen cooling of the body, है ना, cooling of the body. तो formula is there. Which is the formula for calculating times in death from cooling of the body? क्या था फॉर्मूला? नॉर्मल बॉडी टेम्परेचर माइनस रेक्टल टेम्परेचर अपॉन rate of fall of temperature. So this will give you time since death in hours, right? So this is cooling of body, and body will cool, it will attain environmental temperature almost in say 12 to 16 or 18 hours depending on the environmental temperature. Then post-mortem lividity, what is this? How will you calculate times in death from post-mortem lividity? So it will start forming immediately after death. First it will be patchy, then by 4 to 6 hours all the patches will coalesce, right? By 6 hours it will be formed uniformly, but it will not be fixed, and after 8 to 10 hours it will get fixed. So you can give times in death, right? Then rigor mortis will follow. What it will follow? Which rule it will follow? Roughly rule of 12. ठीक है, rule of 12. So after death, after 2-3 hours it will start developing, then it will be at its maximum after 12 hours, it will persist for next 12 hours and will be disappearing after 24 hours. ठीक है, so in this way you will be able to give times in death from rigor mortis. Then decomposition, putrefaction, I have already told you, है ना. putrefaction में कौन से changes कब appear होते हैं? Like discoloration, color changes due to maggots, changes due to gases formation, right? ठीक है. So all these depending on the approximate time range for these particular changes you can give times in death. Adipose formation, mummification, we have seen. From this also you can give times in death, right? Then changes in bone marrow. Then there are certain changes in bone marrow from which also you will be able to give times in death. So here the neutrophils will start swelling in about 1 hour. They will become rounded in about 4 hours, and all this will fuse with each other in around 10 hours. So this is the changes in bone marrow. Then changes in kidneys. Kidneys में क्या दिखेगा आपको? Cloudy swelling will be there. Cloudy swelling of the cells of the tubules, right? So glomeruli will be collapsed in about 24 hours. And there will be severe autolytic changes in about 72 hours. So these changes will be seen in kidney. Then contents of stomach and small intestine. So from that also you may get some idea, although this is not always correlating. So partial digestion in stomach you may get, and normally you know what is the time of gastric emptying. What is gastric emptying time? 3 to 6 hours, है ना, 2 to 5 hours like that. So we will take 2 to 6 hours, right? So this you will get in the stomach. The food will start digesting. So the food will start digesting whenever you eat. जैसे आपने मुंह में चबाया वैसे फूड का डाइजेशन चालू होता है, right? So in stomach the emptying time is 2 to 6 hours, right? So अगर आपको स्टमक कंटेन्स अनडाइजेस्टेड फूड और सेमी डाइजेस्टेड फूड, देन डेथ इज विद इन, यू कैन से कितना, 3 to 6 hours or 2 to 4 hours, what is the time required for gastric emptying, right? And अगर स्टमक में डाइजेस्टेड फूड है थोड़ा ज़्यादा digested, then you can say the time since death more than 4 hours or 6 hours. ठीक है, but this is not always true because this is inhibited, the motility of stomach or GIT is inhibited in certain conditions like head injury, shock, stress, sleep, coma. So all these conditions will inhibit the motility of stomach. That's why you will get digested or undigested food in stomach for long time. Say even if the death is after 8 to 10 hours, you will get this kind of picture. So it is totally, there will be a lot of disparity, right? So you cannot give the times in death from the, by observing the stomach content, whether it is full, whether it is containing digested or semi-digested food. So it is, but roughly, if semi-digested food is there in stomach, you can say it is less than 2 to 4 hours, right? Then presence of feces in stomach, it has no importance if they are there. Then entomology of cadaver, from this also you will be able to give times in death by observing different crop of insects, है ना? जैसे कि सबसे पहले फ्लाइज जो आएंगे, उसके बाद वो अंडे देंगे, then there will be formation of maggots, larva, pupa. So this will at different times they will be formed and adult flies will be there in around 10 to 12 days. So from the different, by observing these stages, you can give times in death. Then there are different biochemical changes in CSF, in blood, in vitreous humor, in synovial fluids and in pericardial fluids. So all these body fluids, you can measure this NPN, amino acids, potassium, glucose, chloride levels, right? So NPN, amino acids, NPN will start increasing after death. Amino acids, potassium will generally decline after death, right? These will increase, and glucose will and chloride will decrease after death. So NPN, amino acids and potassium, these will increase in all these fluids after death, and glucose and chloride will generally decrease in all these body fluids. So this trend is followed in all body fluids like CSF, blood, vitreous humor. Vitreous humor में potassium will increase, lactic acid will increase, and sodium and glucose will decrease after certain time intervals. Say after 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours, it will start decreasing, right? And this decrease will be there till 24 to 48 hours, है ना? So यानी पोटेशियम इंक्रीज होगा 24 टू 48 आवर्स को, ग्लूकोज डिक्रीज होगा, उसके बाद पोटेशियम कम होना शुरू होगा, ठीक है? सेम इज विथ साइनोवियल फ्लूइड, सेम इज विथ पेरिकार्डियल फ्लूइड. सो सेम ऑब्जर्वेशंस आर देयर, डिफरेंट स्टडीज आर going on always on these body fluids and time since death, right? So these are the parameters they are considering: NPN, amino acid, potassium, glucose, chloride, etc., right? So potassium will be increasing after death till 24 to 48 hours. Glucose will be decreasing after death, right? So it will decline continuously after death, and potassium after till 48 hours it will increase, and after that it will start declining. So this is rough idea I am giving. Then circumstantial evidence is also important. So this is most important evidence for determining time since death. जैसे कि when you examine the scene of crime or when you visit the scene of crime, इसमें क्या दिया है उन्होंने? There is, if there are live head lice, अगर सर में जुए है जिंदा, तो टाइम सिंस डेथ इज लेस देन 6 आवर्स, ठीक है? इफ देर आर सराउंडिंग द बॉडी देर इज फूड विच इज लाइंग स्टेल, फाउल स्मेलिंग, सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन द एट वॉट स्टेज that food has decomposed, you can give time since death, right? So this is the newspaper, if it is lying, by observing the date on the newspaper. If there are watches which are stopped at the time of death, ठीक है, जैसे फॉल हो गया या होमिसाइड में कुछ हो गया, so all these watches will stop और यू मे गेट सम नोट, सुसाइड केसेस में अपने को सुसाइडल नोट मिलता है. सो फ्रॉम दिस दीज आर सर्कमस्टेंशियल एविडेंस फ्रॉम विच यू विल गेट आइडिया about time since death, right? Then if the body is lying on grass, the grass will become pale in about 5 to 7 days. 5 से 7 दिन तक बॉडी उसमें पड़ी है, तो अगर उससे पहले ही बॉडी निकाल ली, मान लो 3 दिन में निकाल ली, तो ग्रास का कलर कुछ चेंज नहीं होगा. इट विल नॉट बिकम पेल और येलो, राइट? सो दिस इज सर्कमस्टेंशियल एविडेंस. So all these are called as changes, biochemical are called as thanatochemistry, and there are, they say, different bacteria also which will appear at particular intervals. So this is called as forensic microbiology, right? And study of these different groups of bacteria which appear in the body at particular interval, say after 2 hours, after 10 hours, after 18 hours. So different bacteria will appear. So this study is called as microbiome. So this is again in developing stage. All studies are going on, and the last this topic here is the competency number FM 2.6, and this is presumption of death and presumption of survival. ठीक है? So what is presumption of death? So it is again a legal issue. कैसे मान ले कि किसी की डेथ हो चुकी है, ठीक है? या कैसे मान ले कोई जिंदा है? तो ये इश्यू कब आएगा? व्हेन टू प्रिज्यूम अ पर्सन एज डेड. सो दिस क्वेश्चन विल अराइज व्हेन देयर इज इनहेरिटेंस ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी मिसिंग फॉर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड. इफ अ पर्सन इज मिसिंग फॉर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड, और देयर इज सेटलमेंट ऑफ इंश्योरेंस और पेंशन क्लेम्स. सो इस तरह की चीज़ आती है. और जिस आदमी का हुआ है वो गायब है बहुत दिनों से, है ना? यू डोंट नो वेदर ही हैज़ डाइड और नॉट. सो इन दैट केस दिस क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, राइट? सो दिस इज अ लीगल इश्यू. सो व्हेन अ पर्सन एलेज्ड टू हैव बीन डाइड और बॉडी इज नॉट फाउंड, तो अभी कैसे उसका पेंशन उसके पत्नी को या फैमिली को दिया जाए, ठीक है? उसकी प्रॉपर्टी कैसे इनहेरिट किया जाए, क्योंकि उसकी डेथ होना ज़रूरी है, लेकिन वो तो मिला नहीं. सो दिस इज लीगल इश्यू टिपिकली, right? So these are 2 sections under section 107 Indian Evidence Act. Now it is 110 BSA. भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम, right? So 110 BSA, they say if there is nothing to suggest the probability of death within 30 years, a person is presumed to be alive. 30 साल के अंदर अगर किसी आदमी का कोई साइन नहीं है कि वो उसकी डेथ हो चुकी है, तो उसको प्रिज्यूम करता है कोर्ट ही इज़ अलाइव, राइट? सो 30 years ही इज़ अलाइव. एंड बर्डन ऑफ प्रूविंग हिम डेड, अभी इसको प्रूव करना कि वो मर चुका है, विल बी ऑन द पर्सन हु सेज सो. जो आदमी बोलेगा नहीं ये तो मर चुका है तो इसका आप प्रमाण दीजिए कोर्ट को, देन कोर्ट विल टेक इट एज ही इज डेड. अदरवाइज व्हाट कोर्ट विल प्रिज्यूम दैट ही इज अलाइव. सो इट विल वेट फॉर 30 years. ठीक है? सो दिस इज अकॉर्डिंग टू सेक्शन 110 BSA. Then another section is there which is 111 BSA. So if the person is not been heard, किसी के उस पर्सन के बारे में कुछ नहीं सुना फॉर अराउंड 7 years, कौन सुनेगा किसी के बारे में? उसके दोस्त लोग सुनेंगे, उसके रिलेटिव सुनेंगे. अगर ऐसे किसी के सुनने में नहीं है 7 साल तक, देन डेथ इज प्रिज्यूम्ड. देन कोर्ट विल प्रिज्यूम दैट पर्सन इज डेड, राइट? 7 साल तक अगर कोई उसकी खबर नहीं है तो. सो दिस इज, एंड द बर्डन ऑफ प्रूविंग दैट पर्सन इज अलाइव विल डिपेंड ऑन द पर्सन हु इज सेइंग नहीं ये मरा तो नहीं है, तो जिंदा है तो उसका आप प्रमाण दीजिए कोर्ट को. देन कोर्ट विल एक्सेप्ट दैट ही इज अलाइव. अदरवाइज कोर्ट विल प्रिज्यूम दैट ही इज डेड इफ ही इज नॉट हर्ड or seen by the persons who are supposed to see him or her here for about 7 years. So this is 7 year and 30 years. ठीक है? ये कोर्ट के ऊपर डिपेंड है. these are legal issues. Now, presumption of survivorship. So, this question will arise in connection with inheritance of again and distribution of property based on the will. किसी ने will बनाई कि मेरे मरने के बाद इसको दी जाए, उसके मरने के बाद उसको दी जाए मेरी property, right? So when this question will arise when two or more persons which are natural heirs of each other will die in a common disaster or accident, right? So the question will be there, सबसे पहले कौन मरा या बाद में कौन मरा, who has survived whom. So this question will be answered by postmortem examination, but exactly it will not help. किसकी डेथ पहले हुई, this postmortem examination will not help, right? So they will take the evidences of आई विटनेसेस, जो जगह पे लोग थे उनका आई विटनेस लेकर पुलिस कौन पहले डेथ हुई, राइट? सो इफ इवन इफ दिस इज नॉट अवेलेबल, कोई साइट पे एविडेंस नहीं है, पोस्टमार्टम पे आपको पता नहीं चलेगा, देन सर्टन थिंग्स आर टू बी टेकन इनटू कंसिडरेशन, जैसे कि एज. अभी एज, सेक्स, condition of body, severity of injuries, time since death, cause of death, so all these taken into consideration. तो इसके ऊपर से हम लोग बोलते हैं कि एज में अगर दो लोग एक साथ मरे हैं जो कि एक दूसरे के रिलेटिव है, नेचुरल हेयर्स ऑफ ईच अदर, सो एडल्ट्स विल विथस्टैंड बेटर देन एल्डर. ठीक है, जो बूढ़ा आदमी है, ऐसे एक ही एक्सीडेंट में डेथ हुई है तो हम लोग क्या लेंगे, उसका जो जवान है वो बाद में मरा, सो एज. देन सेक्स, इफ बोथ आर मेल एंड फीमेल, सो विल टेक मेल हैज सर्वाइव्ड फीमेल, मेल ज़्यादा देर तक जिंदा है. ठीक है. इफ कंडीशन ऑफ द बॉडी, द स्ट्रॉन्गर विल सर्वाइव लॉन्गर, स्ट्रॉन्गर विल सर्वाइव लॉन्गर. देन सिवियरिटी ऑफ इंजुरीज, इफ समवन इज हैविंग lot of injuries on the body, other person is not having those severe injuries, then the person who is having severe injuries would have died first. So this is presumed, right? Then time since death जिसका ज़्यादा होगा naturally वो ज़्यादा देर तक survive किया होगा, right? Then cause of death, cause of death में starvation है, जिसमें asphyxia है, वो लोग and females will survive longer. ठीक है. In cold weather they will survive longer. In burns, if the death is due to burns, if there are severity is more on one body than other, then the person who is having severe burn injuries would have died first. So this is presumed. So depending on the conditions of the body, depending on age, sex, right, severity of injuries at the time of death, time since death, cause of death, right. So taking all these factors into consideration, the police will determine who has survived whom. So this is for transferring properties from one heir to other. ठीक है, चलो I will stop here. Thank you. So I have finished with what? Which chapter?